I'm gonna show you guys today a breakdown of not only cutting a curtain bang, but I also wanted to have a way to simplify layers post curtain bangs. So we'll cut the curtain bang using a few different sections, but then when we get into the actual guts of the haircut, it'll go really fast because we've already pre-sectioned it into ponytails. So if you take a look at the head here, we've got a triangle on the top of the head right here. Then everything beyond that is a horseshoe section through the top that goes into one ponytail, just like that. Then we have the other two sections that are on the bottom. They're over directed forward, which I'll explain that as we get into it. Over directed forward and put into a ponytail towards the front of the head, basically in the corner of this section. So real simple sectioning with a nice effective layered haircut to come with it. So let's get started with the curtain fringe. When I go in here, I'll take out the triangle section for the fringe. And what I'm gonna do is divide that into two sections. So right here, I'll comb this out, comb it right down the middle. So following the bridge of the nose, like that. I'll comb the one side off and out of the way. We'll clip that, and then split the other side. I'll take a little triangle out of this first side. We've got a diagonal parting. I'm gonna bring this over front of the face. I wanna make sure, especially with preserving the mannequin, I go a little bit longer with it, but depending on the client and how short they want the fringe to be, just think about you're gonna cut it here and it's gotta swing all the way back over. So you don't get too short of a section, just make sure maybe you err or caution on the long side and then comb it over and see if it's where you want it to be. So I'll come down, my finger angle is parallel to the part. Then right when I get to where I want to cut the section, I'm just gonna shift that finger angle slightly and I'll start my cut. Just like that. Drop it. Then when it gets combed over, you'll see how it goes from short to long and kind of swings out. I'll continue through this section, diagonal parting. Now here's a tip when you're cutting a curtain fringe. If you don't want it to be too heavy or too much of a bold line, then you just throw in a little extra elevation. So right here, instead of cutting it right down here towards the face, I'm gonna cut it a little bit higher. If you think about the head shape here and how it moves from, this is 90 degrees here. So if I held this all the way up, it would be 90 degrees straight out from the head. So straight across, if I create this kind of 90-degree angle, this triangle here, that is 0 degrees. So anything below that, if I'm holding it even further down, it's gonna be at its heaviest point. And if you don't want the bangs to be super heavy, just give it a slight elevation as you move back on the head, and that'll just lighten up the line. You can see how it goes from short to long right there. We'll grab our last section. For me, I'm gonna stay consistent with that elevation that I just had. I don't need to go any higher. And I'm just gonna point cut. Now we're gonna mimic it and do the same thing on the opposite side. I'll keep a little bit of the previous section out. I'll clip the rest away. Take out our little triangle. So that was at our lowest elevation. Really, the lower elevation kind of allows you to judge the length. Because sometimes when you have a higher elevation, it gets a little bit more difficult. So now we've got our guide. And here is the last section. You see how that will come kind of back off the face. Obviously we'll style it in a minute. Now we've got two triangles, one here on this side and one on this side. And then we've got the one triangle right here on top. You see here, this U shape that we created around, basically just the triangle in the front that we had. And then we create that U section, put that into a ponytail. Then on the sides, everything up, just bring it all the way up here, put it in a ponytail. As hairdressers, we don't have to cut hair sitting in a ponytail. But the reason I put it in a ponytail is because it obviously gets, instead of putting it in a clip, it gets all of the hair going in the right direction and giving it that elevation. So can you cut it in this ponytail? Yes. Is it a little more extreme to cut it in the ponytail? Yes, because it's bringing it all to one little middle section here and elevating it. Also, there's no reason to really cut this in a ponytail for our clients. Like, we don't need to put everything in ponytails and cut it. But the basic structure of a haircut works just like these ponytails. So can I bring this forward, cut this ponytail here, bring this up, cut this ponytail here, and have a beautiful layered haircut? Yes, I can. Think about this elevation. I've got this hair straight up in the air. Everything's being brought to the center point and being cut here. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys what happens when I cut this. So I'll grab a little bit of this fringe to tie it in. Right? There's a little bit of our curtain bang. You can see where that point is. So if I hold this up and I cut this hair, point cut it, in this ponytail, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in a blunt line because I want you to be able to see it. So cut it in a blunt line. Now, when I take this ponytail out, I want you to see the shape that this creates. So why does a ponytail work so well for people to cut their hair, right? It's because it creates this diffused movement in the line. So instead of it being a blunt line across, everything's cut up here like it would be, but it's diffused. It's almost like we point cut it because everything's stretching from different directions, coming into a middle point, and then you cut it. So I don't even have to really go in here and point cut it too much because the ponytail section already does it for me. So there's that point of the layering. So it's just like elevating it straight up and cutting it. When you look at the sides and the back, we combine these together into a condensed cutting section. And how this works is everything's being brought from this center point around the head and up. So again, can I cut this ponytail and tie it in to a little piece of this section? Yes, you can go through and cut it. I'm going to show you guys here. I'm going to cut this piece and let me take this section out. Now when I comb it out, you can see basically gives us this line that we could have created with condensed cutting anyways. So it's really an effective way to have clean sections, organize your haircut, then go in and cut it. It doesn't mean that you need to cut it in the ponytail, like I said. And let me show you an example of not cutting it in the ponytail when cutting it with your clients. So we've got this over directed forward, we're sectioned out, I'm in the middle of the haircut, I take the ponytail out, I comb everything forward, keep it in that same direction, just like this, and I come through and I cut my line, just not in the ponytail. Is it giving me a similar effect? Yes, but you're not cutting it in a ponytail, so it can look better in the presentation of the haircut. You take a look at the end result of this cut. You've got a beautiful long back to the haircut. If you look here, the back stays super long because we over directed everything to the very front and cut it here at this line. We cut the top up here, over directed slightly forward at this line. The fringe came forward, so everything in this haircut went forward. We call that an open haircut. It opens up the face, pushes all the weight to the back. Your client still has nice, long, beautiful hair, but they have lots of movement, lots of layers in the haircut. So what we're gonna do, we'll blow dry real quick so that you guys can really see the movement that we created within this cut. Take a look at this right here. You can see that section, that underneath section that we took and brought everything forward in the ponytail. That's what gave us this face frame effect here. Where I'm at with this is that it's definitely going to be tighter than we want it, but then we run our hands through it, shake it around a little bit, and it's going to be... That hairspray just set. You want to let that sit on there for maybe like 1 minute, let it dry up, and then start taking your stuff out. Start in the back because these have been on the longest. Also, Velcro rollers can pull the hair quite a bit, and you don't want to stretch the hair too much. You want to make sure it's cooled before you stretch it. So just make sure you don't feel any heat in those sections. Then I like to I'll take this out, and then I'll just kind of work that section through. I put a little bit of wax on my hands just to kind of soften some of the frizziness that can happen. Look at that pop of layers. Just from that ponytail that was up top, cutting that, all those layers that you get through it. Here's our carpenter fringe. So now, what I would have my client do is put their hair forward, their head forward, just like this. Work some of that hair up through, shake it a little bit. You just want to work through that root a little bit and combine it together. A little bit more hairspray. This is where you start to blend those sections that you put together with the rollers. Start to blend it with your hands. That's why you want to make sure that it's set and it's not still hot from the blow dry, because if it's not set, you'll start stretching it all out, and all that work you did, all that sweat. Man, look at them layers. Fringe. See that. And then any finishing touches that you want to do, you would go in with an iron, do a little bit of finishing touch work with it, but that is the cut. To kind of give you guys a little bit of why this haircut is great. Doing this haircut on medium to thick density. First off, the ponytail consolidated section or condensed section brings everything to a one point, and like we said, you can cut that blunt, but it still gives you a point cut feel. So it gives it that kind of diffused look. Separating your sections, bring everything forward and doing that in that ponytail section or pulling everything tight gives you that diffused look, takes out the weight of the lines within the haircut. You get these nice seamless layers throughout the haircut. You don't really know where the layers are starting and where they're finishing. The other thing is speed in the salon. Being able to combine techniques. You got more of a precision technique in the fringe area, but then you combine that with condensed cutting and something that can kind of get you through. There's no reason to do more work than you need to do in the salon. So being able to do that condensed cutting, basically 3 sections, not counting the fringe, 3 sections, and you got a beautiful layered haircut just like that. So hopefully you guys can use this in the salon. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Free Salon Education, and also make sure that If you want to watch me film these haircuts live and ask questions, you can join the Patreon. It's patreon.com/MattBeck. I'll put the link in the description below. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the class. We do these every Monday, so come join me. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching.